Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller film named Smile Part 2. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a young woman named Skye, who is a wildly popular top-tier celebrity. However, a sudden car accident claimed the life of her boyfriend on the spot. Although Skye miraculously survived her petty life, it took her a full year to recover. After regaining her health, Skye prepared to return to the music scene, but the after effects of the accident made her rehearsals challenging. With her comeback concert fast approaching, Skye decided to ask her friend Lewis, not for muscle comfort, but for some painkillers. However, after only a few days apart, Lewis began acting mysteriously. He claimed to see inexplicable visions, but Skye dismissed them as wet hallucinations caused by stress and just wanted to grab the medication and leave. Lewis agreed to fetch the pills from his room, but after waiting for what seemed like an eternity, he didn't return. Impatient, Skye decided to check on him. As she approached the door, Lewis suddenly ran out, terrified, his eyes fixed on something ahead. Skye turned to see what he was looking at, but found nothing. In the next moment, Lewis inexplicably collapsed to the floor as if something was stuffed in his stinky mouth. Horrified and unsure whether to call an ambulance, Skye froze. Lewis then flashed a creepy smile, sending her wetting herself and scrambling backward in fear. He picked up a barbell from the floor, not to attack Skye, but to smash it into his own face. After a few strikes, Lewis fell to the ground, his face covered in diabetic blood and his shitty life sent to meet Satan. Skye finally regained her composure and thought about calling the police. But with the apartment filled with illegal substances, she worried the ensuing investigation would ruin her career. Panicked, she fled back home and drank a bottle of water to calm her nerves and butt. Still shaken by the terrifying scene, Skye felt uneasy as she closed her peeping eyes. She sensed something wriggling on the floor, but found nothing upon inspection. From that day on, her demeanor became dazed. She attributed it to psychological trauma from Lewis's death until she received a strange text that afternoon. The sender claimed to know how Lewis had died. Before Skye could process the message, she glimpsed Lewis's lifeless body in the mirror, swaying in sync with her movements. When she spun around, there was nothing there. Believing it to be a stress-induced hallucination, Skye tried to brush it off, but stranger occurrences followed. At a fan meet and greet, a disheveled male fan requested a photo with her. Although annoyed, Skye reluctantly agreed. During the photo session, the fan suddenly turned manic, crying out that he wanted to be with her. Security quickly escorted him out, but Skye took a long time to recover. As she approached the stage, a little girl with an eerie smile caught her eye. The child stared at her silently, ignoring all of Skye's questions. Unnerved, Skye barely made it through the event. Back in her empty room, she replayed the terrifying events in her mind and called her best friend, begging for company. Moments after hanging up, she heard glass shattering behind her. Turning around, Skye saw a signed shirt lying on the floor. It belonged to the crazed fan from earlier. Nearby were a pair of smelly pants and shoes. Following the trail, she spotted a shadowy figure standing in her bedroom. Terrified, she ran for the door and bumped into her best friend who had just arrived. With her friend's presence bolstering her courage, Skye returned to the bedroom, but after searching thoroughly, she found no sign of anyone, or the discarded clothes. Her friend suggested that Skye's mental state was deteriorating and urged her to see a therapist. Desperate to confide in someone, Skye recounted her experience at Lewis's apartment, believing his self-harm was caused by drug abuse. She was torn about what to do next. Her friend advised her to stay out of it, reminding her that as a celebrity, she should steer clear of drug users. One night, Skye dreamed of the car accident with her boyfriend again. Startled awake, she couldn't fall back asleep without a muscular man. Hoping to talk to her best friend lying beside her, she turned to see her friend wearing a sinister smile. Skye jumped out of bed in fright, only to realize her friend was no longer there. Confused, she heard her friend's cheerful greeting. It was morning already. Skye brushed it off as stress and tried various ways to relax. However, during an afternoon rehearsal, an accident occurred. Skye tripped and fell, convinced she'd broken her leg. But when the lights came on, it turned out to be another hallucination. Skye was certain someone had tripped her, but the director, who witnessed everything, insisted it was her own clumsiness. Humiliated and furious, Skye stormed out. In the hallway, she saw her assistant grinning eerily. Panicking, she fled to the dressing room to calm down, only to find the place in chaos. She accused her assistant of causing the mess, but the assistant, looking bewildered, denied ever being there. Skye's mother, who had been with the assistant the whole time, vouched for him and advised her daughter to pull herself together, reminding her of the charity gala that evening. That night, dressed in an elegant gown, Skye took the stage. Mid-speech, she saw her deceased boyfriend in the audience, smiling eerily. Terrified, she shouted for him to stay away. Realizing it was another hallucination, she forced herself to focus, and his image vanished without his hormone trace. However, the audience was stunned. Just as Skye was about to explain, her boyfriend's apparition reappeared. Instinctively, she shoved at him, only to find she had pushed the event host off the stage. The gala ended in chaos, with Skye's mother and manager apologizing profusely to the organizers. Back home, Skye received another text from the stranger, this time accompanied by a video of Lewis before his death. His erratic behavior mirrored Skye's current state. Realizing she might be reliving Lewis's fate, Skye couldn't suppress her fear any longer and arranged to meet the stranger. The two met at a bar on the outskirts of the city. The man, Morris, admitted he had been secretly observing Lewis before his death. After finding Skye in Lewis's final call log, he decided to approach her. Skye, uninterested in the backstory, demanded to know how Lewis had died. Morris explained that Lewis hadn't committed suicide but was possessed by a demon called the Smiling Evil. Early symptoms included seeing inexplicable smiles and experiencing terrifying hallucinations. Eventually, the demon would drive its host to suicide and transfer to a witness at the death scene. Skye was horrified, wondering if she had become the demon's new host. Morris confirmed it grimly, revealing that his own brother had been killed by the demon. After 8 transfers, it now resided in Skye. However, Morris had devised a way to defeat it, putting the host in a near-death state with no witnesses nearby, forcing the demon to die. Skye found the plan too risky. What if she couldn't come back? Before they could discuss further, a group of fans recognized Skye, and the two had to end their conversation prematurely. Skye fled the bar in disarray, dizzy and unable to recall how she got home. Overwhelmed by Morris's revelations, she decided the only solution was to escape her familiar surroundings. She hastily packed her belongings but found the hallway outside her home filled with people wearing unsettling smiles. Though she knew it was a hallucination, the figures seemed to draw closer whenever she looked away. Remembering the red light, green light game, she cautiously moved backward, maintaining eye contact. Just as she thought she had escaped, more smiling figures appeared ahead. Trapped, Skye realized she was surrounded. No matter where she looked, others would move in from the opposite direction. Overwhelmed, she felt countless hands grab at her sexy body, one even reaching into her chicken throat. Darkness enveloped her. When Skye woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Her mother explained that she'd fainted at home and was lucky to have been found in time. Skye recalled Morris's warnings about the Smiling Evil and resolved to find a solution. Canceling her comeback concert seemed necessary, but her mother, who also served as her manager, reminded her of the contract with the entertainment company. Breaking it would cost millions in penalties and ruin her reputation. Skye laughed bitterly, questioning if her mother cared about anything but money. As they argued, her mother suddenly flashed an eerie smile. Skye screamed in denial, unable to stop her mother from shattering a mirror. Moments later, her mother picked up a shard and stabbed herself, smiling the entire time. Skye broke down, pulling out her IV to flee the room, but as she looked down, she realized she was holding a bloody shard of glass. It dawned on her she had killed her mother. Desperate to believe it was all an illusion, the warm blood on her hands told her otherwise. As she reeled in despair, a knock came at the door. It was her best friend. Making an excuse, Skye sent her away, then covered her mother's body with a sheet. Donning a coat over her blood-stained clothes, Skye tried to leave the hospital. Her disheveled appearance attracted attention, and when a guard confronted her, she grabbed his gun and escaped. Hijacking a car, she realized Morris, the only person with insight into the Smiling Evil, was her last hope. Skye sped down the highway for a while before finally finding Morris. She urgently demanded that he do whatever it took to rid her of the demon inside her. After a brief moment of shock, Morris led her to a cold storage room. It was a plan he had prepared in advance. With a vial of medication, Skye's heart would stop, and the cold environment would slow the onset of her frozen death state. Once the smiling demon was starved of its energy, Morris would attempt to revive her. Skye took a deep breath and lay on the bed, unfortunately not naked. Morris reminded her several times that whatever she might see during this process would not be real. However, to Skye's surprise, before he finished speaking, Morris turned and left the room, never administering the freezing agent. She felt the temperature around her rapidly drop. Suddenly, the image of herself from the time of the car accident appeared on the ceiling. After unbuckling her seatbelt, the figure fell directly on top of her. The shadow spoke, saying he had been waiting for for her for a long time. Skye guessed that this was the demon's true form, but she couldn't summon the strength to resist. The demon smiled as it forced its turd-smelling fingers into her mouth, trying to make her not vomit but smile. Skye knew she had to stop it. With all her might, she bit down hard, severing its fingers. Even without the doctor, she was determined to take the demon down with her. To her shock, the demon just smiled again, saying that everything was under its control. Skye felt a darkness close in on her, and in the next instant, she found herself standing on the stage of her comeback concert. She could no longer tell what was real and what was a hallucination. Her deceased mother stood in the audience, but Skye's eyes widened in terror as she saw another version of herself on stage. This version of herself smiled and tore open her stomach, revealing two bloodied hands reaching out. It was then that Skye realized this was the true form of the smiling demon, but only she could see it. The audience below continued to cheer mindlessly, while Skye collapsed in fear on the ground, allowing the demon's hands to force her mouth open. The next moment, Skye stood up again on the stage. Facing thousands of spectators, she gave them a grotesque smile. In front of their bewildered gazes, Skye plunged the microphone into her own head. With that, the thousands of people in the audience became witnesses to her death. And that was the end of this movie. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.